This is a tutorial on the residential listing agreement, Form 200. If you're looking for the car form RLA, that's a different video and I'll link to it in the description. This is a 3-page listing agreement intended for use by real estate professionals. I have some sample information and we'll go through it together. We start line 1 by putting the seller's name. Then on line 3, the name of the listing brokerage. On line 5, the property address. Now keep in mind that the brokerage name and the address are going to automatically populate in the Forms Manager. That's at forms.openhometeam.com. Assessor's parcel number, and that can be found on a property tax bill or on the MLS listing, or you can ask the seller. And if you really can't find it, you can leave it blank, but you really should come back to it. County, you'll put the county name in here. Listing period beginning on, I have commences, but begins, this is the start date, and I just put the date that I'm drafting this agreement. Expires at, and then I put the end of the lease agreement or termination. Now keep in mind, both these numbers must be put in for this to be a valid and enforceable agreement. Sometimes I see people leave it out. Maybe they have a casual relationship with the seller. No matter what, if you want this to be an enforceable document, you need to have a start and end date for the listing term. Now for here, we have the brokerage charges, and we'll put 6% here. So let's say we're just charging 6% to the seller. We put that right there. And then if we want to add on to that 6%, we can check this box and add a flat fee to it. Now, an example scenario would be you are charging 6%, and you also want to charge them a $500 processing fee because that's what your brokerage charges you, or maybe a transaction coordinator fee. You can check this box and then put in the let's say the TC fee, and basically pass that cost on to the seller. So this just adds on top of that right there. We'll just leave it at the 6% for now. But let's say you're doing a flat fee transaction. Well, you can get rid of that 6% and just check this box and write in a number. And here's an example of, let's say you're listing it for $15,000. Instead of the 6%, you check that box here. And then it tells you that this is a protective measure right here. And we'll read through it, we'll skim through it. But basically, so starting here, it says that the seller, if the seller deliberately sabotages the transaction, they're still obligated to pay a brokerage fee, the listing commission. And then down here it has, if within 90 days, now 90 days is the default to protect you. You can of course add or reduce the number of days. From the expiration of the listing period, and by any extensions, the seller enters into an agreement to sell, lease, or transfer by any means the property to a buyer or related entity that entered the property, or made a written offer during the listing period, and then it obligates you as a listing agent to give a list of buyers that entered the premises or made an offer within 21 days of the termination of this agreement. So if this is canceled or if this expires, please deliver the seller a list of buyers that entered the property or made offers. If one of those people goes into escrow on this property, it protects you and secures a commission. And this is with the assumption that it was your efforts that procured that buyer, because when you were doing your marketing, it was your efforts that brought that buyer to go view the property and write an offer, or write an offer right afterward. Because the last thing you want to have happen is the listing to expire, and then the buyer that was first interested or touring the property based on your efforts comes back and writes an offer, and then the seller tries to cut you out and go by owner. So this is just protective verbiage here. Broker cooperation. If you're the listing agent, are you offering, let's go back up here and let's say we're doing a 6% commission. We go down here and we deduct whatever you're offering the other broker from that 6%. Or if it's 5%, you can put 2.5 right here. But this is the cooperating broker compensation. And you can have a flat fee option as well. Multiple listing service advisory. This is explaining what the role of the MLS is. You're going to have the seller initial at the bottom of this page and move on. Is the seller going to exclude from the MLS? That's fine. You have done your part because you've explained here in this advisory what the MLS is. And now the seller is welcome to initial here saying, I understand what it is. I've been advised up here in this paragraph in 30. And I'm going to exclude my listing from the MLS. Marketing. By default, you as a listing broker or listing agent are going to have the authorization to publish information about the property online. In addition to that, by default, you're authorized to place a key box on premises and to place a for sale sign on premises. Dispute resolution, if something comes up, there's some sort of dispute that arises, mediation is the first course of resolution. And then we have some verbiage, of course. Now, perhaps you're in a state where there's no dual agency allowed. That can be modified here in additional provisions. But this is actually a pretty universal form for taking listings in just about any state. And additional provisions can be used for anything auxiliary that wasn't explicitly mentioned above, but you want to add to the agreement. It's just blank lines, and you can just type it in. The seller's going to initial. We come down here, and this is where the seller is going to sign. The seller is going to put their information, and then the listing broker is going to put their information. Of course, most, if not all of this, is going to populate in the forms manager at openhometeam.com. And that's it. This form is complete after that. Very simple, very straightforward, but does a lot to protect the listing broker and make sure that the seller is properly advised. And I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Thank you.